I'm your Jesus-loving and potty host, L.A. Sprague. Welcome to Christians with Chronic Illnesses. Hello, April. Thanks so much for being on Christians with Chronic Illnesses. Everybody, I would like to introduce you to April Aramanda. She's the host of the Invisible Illness Club, and I highly recommend you go listen. I went and listened to a few episodes myself, and she's very encouraging, and yes, you're blunt, but I think that you have some good things to say, so really appreciate you and your podcast.
Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I am older. I'm in my late 40s. And so blunt kind of comes with the territory sometimes because we realize that life is too short to not say the thing that needs to be said. And so we can be very blunt, but at the same time, I try to do it in love. And I try to do it in grace and encouragement because my spiritual gift is actually mercy. If you sat and talked with me about anything one-on-one, you would find that out real quick. So, it's kind of a combo of a little bluntness and a lot of mercy.
That's awesome. I think that's a cool mix. I think that's a powerful mix, because it's like how do I explain this? It's like be as innocent as doves, but as wise as serpents, kind of that mix of like, listen, like I will give you grace and leaps and bounds of mercy.
Yes.
And I will have appropriate boundaries that will be for both of us to grow and to love each other well.
Well, and hold your feet to the fire. I mean, in order for us to be refined as Christians, it's like the refining process of, any metal or diamond or anything else. At some point, you've got to hold that to the fire. And you've got to say, look, this has to be done. You need to know this about God, or you need to know this about yourself and your relationship with God. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it with a lot of love. Because I'm fail all the time myself. I mean, I failed about 5 times today already. So...
Yeah, I get that. Interesting. So holding the metal up to the fire as a metaphor, can you explain a little bit more about that metaphor?
Yeah, so there's a scripture. I wish I could tell you exactly where it is. I'll have to find it later. But there is a scripture that says that God refines us like a refining fire, with a refining fire. And this goes back to the days of when they would well, they still do when they forged metals. So if you've ever seen Forged in Fire TV show where they make all the little knives and stuff in the metal forge, it's amazing. And it's a great way to understand this metaphor. In order for the metal to be melted down properly, to be pushed together and made the way that the author wants it to look, it has to be melted in a ridiculously hot fire, probably melt your hand off kind of fire, okay, like instantly. And so you can imagine, plus it's being pushed under all these plates and shaped and formed and, bent and everything, all of that to make the metal hard, strong, and to be able to do what it is called to do. I can't do what I'm called to do if I am not staying in the Word. And I've had days where I've recorded a podcast episode and felt like I just threw one out there real quick, like I wasn't really in it as much because I wasn't holding my own self to that standard, keeping my own self in the Word of God and being like, okay, God called me to do this podcast. I need to do this well. So I hope that makes a little more sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your podcast. I personally really love it. And
thank you.
I'd love you to talk a little bit more to those who haven't heard your show. And if you haven't, you should definitely go listen. But tell us a little bit more about your format and what you like to talk about.
Shameless plug there. I love it. So I am the Invisible Illness podcast. I tell you, brain fog and tongue ties, they're a big thing for us. I am the Invisible Illness Club and the Invisible Illness Club podcast. So I started the club itself about a year before to try to get my name out there, get people to understand who I was. I do have a small Facebook group that is slow growing right now, but maybe I'll jump in. And I have a newsletter that goes out every week, unless I'm really sick. So I didn't have one last
Mm,
2 weeks because I just wasn't doing well.
yeah.
I really talk about living life with chronic illness. I don't really, unless I feel like I need to in a certain episode, describe what chronic illnesses are. I don't go into like education wise. I'm talking more about how we're living
Mm,
our lives with chronic illness. And my goal with all of this is not only to be honest and to help you feel like you're understood and you're not alone and you're
mm,
validated in what you're feeling and going through, but also I want you, I want myself to find a way to live with joy and to thrive in this life. It is not an easy life to have chronic illness. We all know that. I don't know. I could talk about that for days and every one of us would agree.
yeah.
But the thing is that we also are called to be joyful. God called us to live with joy. And
Mm,
we can't do that if we're not purposefully putting ourselves and our mindsets in those places. And so I try as much as I possibly can to point each one of us to that, to God, and to ways to find some joy, maybe make our lives a little easier that day, thrive in this
mm,
difficult life that we're in, because chronic means always, right? So that means
yeah.
we will always have something we are dealing with unless God heals us, please Lord. I won't, hey, I won't deny God healing. So if he
Yeah.
wants to heal me, I'm all for it.
Hmm.
Um, but the chance is that most of us will live this for the rest of our lives. And so we need to find a way to live it joyfully, peacefully, um, find a way to make it purposeful for ourselves, even if that's just to hang out with our family in the living room for an evening or in the bed because we can't go anywhere. But finding a way to find some joy in the day because it's hard and it can be ugly. And I would rather find a way to smile than live in the depression of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that helps us live a more meaningful life as well, a more fulfilling
mhm,
life too, to
mhm.
try to pursue that joy that God has set before us. I mean,
Yes.
it's obviously easier said than done, and that doesn't mean, as I'm sure I know you agree, we can't grieve, you know?
Right.
Like,
Please, no, do the things you need to
hmm,
do and
yeah,
grieve and be mad and have those conversations, whatever.
yeah.
Go through the process of your emotions because if you don't, you're holding them back and then you have
Right.
other problems
And then
down the
there's
road.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
almost
I
like,
mean,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
It's almost like it makes a way, a path for true joy if you do get through the grief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you have to let yourself, and because of what we deal with, grief is cyclical. It goes in a cycle for us. And so
Yeah.
we might grieve right now and then not grieve again till next month, but we're going to keep grieving, right? And so I
Yeah.
think it's one of those things that you have to let yourself go through it because if you just stuff it down and you stuff it down and you stuff it down, you're going to have not only a bigger physical problem down the road
Oof.
because our
Yeah.
emotions actually deal with our bodies, but
Mm-hmm.
you're also going to have a bigger emotional and spiritual problem down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So faith seems to be a huge topic for you,
Yes.
obviously. You talk about how you believe that God has called you to do your podcast. And so I would love to hear more. And obviously, you talked about, holding yourself accountable to be in the
Mhm.
Word. I would love to hear what is your relationship with Christ like now,
Mhm.
and what's He teaching you?
It's been a little bit of a bumpy road lately, I'll be honest.
Mm.
I'm like I said, I'm a little blunt. I'm not complete, I'm not going to sit here and give you fairy tales. I mean, I'm just not. I have been down almost bedridden almost 2.5 weeks. This is my second day trying to do something in the bed. I have the curtains behind me, but I'm in the
Mm.
bed right now
Oh,
because we
wow.
do everything from wherever we're comfortable when we have chronic illness.
Hmm.
So it's been a little rough lately because I've felt the depression of being stuck in bed. Um, but God and I are getting back on better feet.
Mm.
I started a new Bible study yesterday on the book of Habakkuk, of all things. I'm excited to see what they have to say about Habakkuk. and what God shows me. But it's called Even If. And it kind of feels like my life right now that no matter how depressed I might get, or if I get mad at God, because yes, people, you can get mad at God and it is okay. He can handle your feelings. So if you feel like you've never been allowed to be mad about something with God, that's wrong. You actually can. Please talk to him about how you're mad at him. Because if you're not talking to him, then that's the problem, not the other way around.
Oof.
Anyway, little side
Mm-hmm.
soapbox there. Um, but my faith is important to me. I've always said no matter how far I get from listening or looking at God at the moment, I will never turn my back on God. Um, he has gotten me through more things than I can tell you in this podcast, and is continuing to get me through things, that I'm dealing with chronic illness now and family members and other things. And it's very important to me that if I'm going to come out here and teach you, and speak to you about what I think of God and what God's doing in my life, well, I better have God doing something in my life. I better be in relationship with God. And so I am
Mm-hmm.
working on making that better now. Not that he hasn't been far away. He's heard all my prayers. He's heard all my things. It's just I haven't dug into the word lately. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am getting back into that.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh,
just real honesty. I mean, sometimes it's hard to be close to God,
yeah.
and you just got to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate the encouragement to talk to God even when we're mad, because I think
Yeah.
that deep down there could be a lot of denial, kind of
Yeah.
pushing that away. And
Well, and I think a lot of Christian circles, I know the ones I grew up in, um, make it seem that you can't be mad at God, that you can't tell God you're mad, that you can't tell God that you're disappointed, you can't tell God blah, blah, blah. And the truth of the matter is, God never says that. In fact, he says to come to him and talk to him. And he has many examples of Christian men in the Bible wrestling with him and, having these kinds of discussions with him. And I think that's important that we don't forget that that is part of who God is. That's what he wants for us. Because if we're talking, we're working on it. If we're not talking, then we've turned away.
oof, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, convicting. Thanks for that.
I'm convicting myself as I'm saying it.
Right.
You prayed at the beginning of this, God let, April's words be whatever, you need it to be or whatever. And I was like, oh crap, here they come.
That's
I'm
awesome.
convicting myself.
That's
So,
awesome. Well, I'm grateful for that.
yeah.
So, as you mentioned right now, you're bedridden, and you mentioned, wrestling with God with the grief of physical loss, I
Hmm.
suppose. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about? I know that you have many diagnoses and many chronic diagnoses, that even just one, I'm
Yeah.
impacted by only one that you have, and it's changed my life. And you have, it's like I've interviewed so many people who have different ones that you have, different chronic
Right.
illnesses or different chronic conditions you have, and then you have all of them.
I know
So-
it's been the wildest ride, not always in a good way. So
right.
I spent most of my 20s and early 30s when I was a young mom, raising my kid alone. I was a single mom. And, I had back pain, I had aches and pains, I had migraines,
Mm-hmm.
So I've had migraines since my 20s. But nobody can ever tell you, how it is sometimes with especially in your early years when you're young,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what's really wrong with your body. It's just being a woman, or it's just being a single mom, or it's just being, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go through most of that. You don't even know you have a chronic illness. Then you get to a place, well, for me, it was kind of really, it's my little miracle because I took my mom to her rheumatologist, her new rheumatologist. And then she turned and looked at me, asked me a couple of questions, and said, I need to see you. And I was like, okay. So that got me started. I got an easier path into it than some
Mm-hmm.
people have. But I started off with the basics: ankylosing spondylitis and fibromyalgia. Um,
Man.
they're not easy, especially if you know the pain that comes with either one of them.
Yeah.
But for me, those were the easier ones to deal with. And I kind of miss the early days. Uh, but then as you go down the road, things happen and you get sick or you get, whatever. So I had an allergic reaction to medication for the fibromyalgia and killed my kidneys basically. So I
Oh.
am on stage like 3B, 4A kidney failure at this point. I kind of am in between those two.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm at the place where we have to watch real carefully. Because it's potential if it hits a certain number that I have to go on dialysis or get a kidney transplant or both, depending on how fast I can do whichever. So that happened. And then I ended up having, well, I've had degenerative discs because the older you get, no matter what, people, your discs in your back are going to degenerate. Doesn't mean they're all going to hit this kind of thing that I've had, but it does mean they're going to, all your bones start wearing down. We get old, we die. And so they started degenerating and they compressed a nerve. And so for years, I've had a lot of nerve pain, especially in my very lower back, across my hips, and in my left leg. And that's what's put me in bed mostly for the last 2.5 weeks. I've
Man.
been up, I was up yesterday and I was up some today. I'll be up some this afternoon. Um, it's just easier to stay in the bed for some things than others. So that's been going on, and that hit a head the other day. So it's been a lot of pain, but I'm doing better. And then I have I have hyperthyroidism, which is one of those things that, a lot of women get anyway. And that causes a lot of weird symptoms. Like my voice used to sound better. I'm very gravelly now. I used to be able to sing. Now I can't really sing a few notes because then I hit that gravel in my voice and it kind of hurts my throat. Um, Hair loss, things like that. And in the process of all this, we realized that like all of a sudden my blood pressure started spiking in the middle of the night. And we're like, what the heck is
Mm.
going on? Like weird symptoms started happening that I hadn't had before. And so in the process of figuring that out, we found out I have at least one defective parathyroid. And so that actually works closely with the kidney also. So some of the kidney stuff could be coming from that or could be made better when I get the surgery for that or, could just be what it is. I mean, that's how it goes. So I have parathyroidism, which has to get taken. So basically it means I have to get that at least one parathyroid taken out,
Oh
which is a
wow.
throat surgery. So I'm waiting on my consult for that so I can get that done. So it's just been a kind of roller coaster ride the last year as things have kind of hit all these different bumps where it's like, oh, now you have this and now you have this. And I'm like, look, I know I'm 47, but I'm a little young to have this many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
am I right that you also mentioned you have POTS too? Is that right?
mm-hmm. I got that diagnosis last year. And
Wow.
yeah, so sometimes the thing is that it was an odd presentation because normally when you get POTS, if you stand up from a seated position too long or a laying down position, right, your blood pressure drops. That's what usually causes the dizziness, the feeling that you're going to pass out, that kind of thing, because your blood pressure drops because the blood all goes to your feet.
Hmm.
And then it has to work its way slowly back up the body. Mine did not present with a blood pressure issue. It was a heart rate issue for a long time. And it was just that feeling that you want to pass out, but I never actually have,
Right.
thankfully.
Yeah.
And so it was an odd presentation. So I came over to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville and did a lot of testing. And then we were given the diagnosis that there is some mild POTS in there. But because of the parathyroid issue causing blood pressure issues, it's all playing against itself. And so
Wow.
that's why I didn't know it was the normal presentation, and nobody could figure it out at first until I came here. So
Wow. So did they at the Mayo Clinic, did they do the tilt table test or did they just
they
figure it out
do,
otherwise?
but they have three different tests they do there, which makes it
What?
different than most things. Yes.
Oh my
So they do the
goodness.
regular tilt table test. which I failed every time I did it
Mm,
because I don't have the same presentation,
yeah. So for
which is
those
something to remember when
for
you're advocating for yourself.
yeah, for those listening real quick, the tilt table test is essentially, at least when I got mine done,
Mhm.
they if they're suspect that you could have something called POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, the doctors or nurses, whoever, they basically strap you to a surface and then slowly tilt you up while they're monitoring your heart rate and your blood pressure and things of the sorts. They track all of your symptoms. And if you have POTS, often, as you were talking about, April, your heart rate will spike and your blood pressure will drop. A lot of people will pass out during the test. A lot of people don't. But typically, to get diagnosed with POTS in that test, typically, and I'm super excited to hear about what the Mayo Clinic does, but
Yeah.
typically your heart rate has to escalate from laying to being upright, has to escalate 30 beats per
Yeah.
minute. So
Over
yeah,
a
I would
10-minute period. Yeah.
yeah, so I'd love to hear about how that you said that wasn't effective for you because yours presents differently. So tell us more
Right. So
about
I did that, and then they did a sweat test, but it was one of those where they basically put electrodes on my legs,
mhm.
and they caused those spots where the electrodes were to sweat. All it felt like to me was like a bee sting, or if you've ever had a tattoo, I have several. Just so you know, you can be a Christian and have a tattoo, at least in my opinion. I understand other people believe differently, and you are welcome to your opinion. And I say that with love. I don't mean that in any rude way. Um, anyway, it feels like either getting a tattoo or a bee sting for a few minutes, and they basically collect the sweat at that electrode, and then they test it.
Huh.
That tells them a lot of information. So that's the second test. And then they also did well, now I can't remember what the third test was.
That's okay.
That's okay. They have a third test. They do three tests for me. And between all of that, we're able to get a better diagnosis look.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, because I have my parathyroid going against everything that would say it's POTS, but then I can tell you I can stand up and be
Hmm.
completely dizzy in 2 seconds, you know?
Right. Hmm.
So it was always weird. I was like, well, tell me why I'm still dizzy. Tell me why my heart rate is still fast. Tell me why all this
Yeah.
is going on. And so it really helped me to be able to get more specialized look at
Hmm.
what could be POTS because I don't have the standard presentation. So if you
Right.
think you have it and you don't have a standard presentation of it, then maybe you need to look into getting some more testing done. So,
Wow. All right. So, what do you think of all these different chronic conditions you have? Do you think there's one that's like your main dragon to fight?
I used to think that
Yeah.
in the beginning when it was between ankylosing spondylitis and fibromyalgia, it was
Mm.
fibromyalgia because that's the one that causes more pain in my body than ever. The ankylosing spondylitis is a inflammatory condition, but it usually affects the joints and more than the muscles. And so you get a catch in your back or your shoulder or your chest or something like that, and you just kind of feel, that for a couple of days, and then it, resides for a while. The fibromyalgia, listen, if you got fibromyalgia, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That flu-like feeling that's just all over your body, and you just want to lay down forever and be done. That was my white whale in the beginning. I was like, this is the one I'm going to have to fight the hardest because it
Mm.
just hurts. Now it's like they're all kind of equal right now.
Yeah.
I think the last thing we're at this place where I've gotten most of my stuff done, and the last thing that I need to fight right now is getting the parathyroid surgery. Once that's done, then we can start going, into just follow-up appointments
Hmm.
and trying to live more of a normal life. I think I've spent about 6 months here between um, visiting with family and the Mayo Clinic. And so we're kind of, just trying to get that done.
Yeah. So I would love to hear more about because everybody's condition, of course, with POTS, ankylosing
Yes.
spondylitis, fibromyalgia, all those things are super different. You're the first person that I've interviewed. I think, actually, I'd one other person who had hypothyroidism, but the other thing, what'd you say the second thing you need surgery for?
The parathyroid.
Parathyroid. Yeah, could you tell us more about if what are the thyroids?
Mhm.
What are they supposed to do for your body? And then what is the consequence that you're experiencing from them not working?
Well, I am not a physician,
Yeah. Mhm.
although my family was, but I am not. Both my parents, my mom was a nurse, my dad was an
Oh
anesthesiologist,
wow.
and both retired and, living a nice, quiet life now. But
Mm.
at any rate, I grew up with medicine, but I am not a physician, not a nurse,
Mm.
chose not to go into the field, and happy for it.
Aw.
But so I don't know a lot. I should know more
No,
because I
that's
am a
okay.
researcher, but I don't know a lot. The thyroid and the parathyroids are actually important to your body. It's not something you want to take out if you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's not like the gallbladder, although that was fun, or the appendix. They
Mm.
have a meaning, but it's okay if you take them out. They're not going to kill you.
Mm.
They won't kill you to take these out. These are just more of one of those things you don't want to take out.
Mm.
They are part of the endocrine system, which has to do with your heart rate. It has to do with your blood pressure. It has to do with a lot of that kind of stuff,
Mm.
kidney function, things like that.
That's pretty important.
It is a very important system. And these are two big pieces of that endocrine system. And so you
Mm.
want it to be able to function properly. A lot of people can get hypo or hyperthyroidism, and live a full and healthy life, just take medication to manage it. That's what was happening with me at first.
Mm.
And it was perfectly fine. It's a thing that can happen to women when we get older, men too, I think, but it's more common in women, or at least we talk about it more. That might be
Mhm.
what it is. Um, and so it's just one of those things that we get used to, that being a problem for women, which is sad but true. The parathyroidism, so the parathyroids sit on top of the thyroids sometimes.
Hmm.
That's what the doctors like to tell you. But the truth of the matter is that I found out at the Mayo Clinic, especially from the nurses, but the doctor told me too, is that the parathyroids can actually live almost anywhere in your body. They can migrate. So when you're born, they're
What?
sitting here on the thyroid, and then they can just migrate wherever they want. And
Huh.
I was like, wow, so you can find a parathyroid like down in your ribs or something? She said, yeah, you can find it anywhere in the
Oh
body,
my goodness.
which was so weird. I'd never heard that. But mine are in the place they're supposed to be, so it was easy to find.
Hmm.
Um, and they are a huge part of heart rate and blood pressure. And so if a parathyroid goes wrong, like mine has, I have at least one that's wrong. It can start spiking your heart rate and spiking your blood pressure, and among other things. Like I said,
Mm.
I don't know all the pieces that they do, but those are the two things that I had to deal with. Was it's spiking my heart rate even worse than POTS already did, and spiking my blood pressure especially. But what was weird was that it was spiking my blood pressure at night,
Mm.
and so that's how we caught what was going on. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, we would have thought it was part of the POTS, right? Just
Hmm.
going through the ups and downs of blood pressure issues and my age and my cholesterol, and you know how they are.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that they're very important pieces of the
Yeah.
body.
Hmm.
And I think it's important that you try to keep as many of them as possible. What we're going to have to do is go in. They take the one they know is wrong. It's defective. It's causing a problem. They're going to take that one. Then they have to do these they basically do lab tests over the next, and wait 10 minutes and see if that brings my body back to a normal place, because this is the kind of thing, unlike, getting on a medication for blood pressure, that you got to wait 6 weeks before you know if it's working or something like that.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing in your body that you can find out immediately in surgery.
Hmm.
And so they will then know within 10 minutes, did that fix the problem?
Oh
If it
boy.
didn't, I know it's like the only thing I've ever heard of that they can see that with. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that's cool. Okay, good. Then what they do is if it did not fix the problem, they go and they look at the other parathyroid glands because there's four of them total.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they decide, okay, is this one defective? If it is, then they can take that one. And they can take all the way up to half of one and leave half of one in your body.
Oh
I
my
am opting,
goodness.
yeah, I am opting to leave an entire whole one. They can take three, but I'm not wanting them to go to the half
Okay.
route
I gotcha.
just because of how important it is for your system.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the choice I'm making. They will not, if unless you're bleeding out or something massive happens, they will not take all four.
Right.
They can take up to a half.
Okay.
So I hope that explains a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. That's super interesting, especially
Hmm.
hearing about the parathyroid migrating. That's wild.
Oh, I know. I was like, no way.
So
Okay.
weird. So some of the symptoms that you've experienced from it, where you said like hair loss, blood pressure issues, were
Hmm.
the main symptoms, or did you have any weird ones? Any other
Those were
weird
the
ones?
main. I'm sure that some of my weird symptoms, because we all have some crop up from time to
For
time,
sure.
I'm sure some of them are related, but those were the ones that they seemed to really focus in on.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Do you know, like, if that has affected your blood pressure issues? Do you know if that could be causing POTS, or is POTS a whole different just
POTS
issue?
in and of itself, I know can be a whole issue.
Yeah.
And so if you have POTS and not other things, then bless you. Please enjoy it. I don't mean it that way. You know what I'm saying.
Right. Yep.
But I happen to have something that is causing some other issues that might actually help alleviate some of my POTS,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not make it
At
as
least
because
improve it. Yeah.
right, because the test showed it was mild, not very bad, and so
Right.
and I've made it to 47 without any issues with that. So
Right.
I'm thinking, or at least I'm hoping, that by doing this parathyroid surgery, I also can improve or maybe even alleviate the
Yeah.
POTS symptoms that I have on the most part. So
Yeah. When is your surgery?
I don't know yet. I have right now my appointment is scheduled for April 10th to meet with the surgeon. He is a very well requested surgeon. He's the best at the Mayo
Nice.
Clinic in Jacksonville. Yes.
All right.
And so it has taken this long just to get that consult.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, he'll look at everything that the endocrinologist sent him and the recommendations, and then we'll schedule the surgery from there.
Wow. I hope you do your best for the surgery for sure.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, April, how have you been able to help manage your symptoms in all of your chronic illnesses?
Yeah.
Maybe you could like find something for each of them so that people listening, could
Yeah.
have a tip. Do you have any tips for people listening?
I have some. I will say the biggest way that I've gotten through any of this is honestly God. God is the reason that I can put one foot in front of the other when things get really, really bad. And sometimes that's the only thing I can hold on to is that if I never get any relief here, God has a promise that when I reach heaven, as soon as I die, there will be no more tears and no more pain. And I got to tell you, I've been in tears lately. And so if I cry on this, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But that is a huge promise to me. This is the second time in my life that I've been through something so difficult that that promise has become a massive hold that like I just hold on to it like a rope or a teddy bear or something, my lifeline to keep me in a place of okay, if I never get relief, if this is what God wants for the rest of my life, I know that when I get to heaven, I will no longer be in pain. I will no longer be crying. I will be praising. And I know that's hard to think about, like, but I'm in pain here and I don't want to be in pain anymore. But I want you to also think about what is the purpose that God still has you here? Because if you're still here, He has a reason. So that pain and that struggle and the physical stuff we're going through, which can be very hard, and I understand completely, um, it's not just for loss. It's not just for you to have pain. Sometimes our deepest stories and our best ministry comes from the things that we're going through. So think about what could God be calling you to as you go through this, that maybe he'll bring you out of it for that season or maybe not, but he's calling you to do something with what you know about him in your life, with what you're going through. And so I think that's important to hold on to as well. So that's been my biggest thing that's helped me get through anything. My husband, the man is a saint. I have to tell you. And I say that kind of jokingly, but I'm not joking. I've had bad relationships. I've had very bad relationships in my life. He is unfortunately my third husband, fortunately my best.
Aw.
It is funny how God can integrate two lives together in ways that you never really realized was possible. And I did not know that there was men out there who could actually be as gentle and as kind and as loving and as, okay, this is what we need to do because this is where you're at, as he is. So that's been huge help for me. Um, Outside of people and God, I use a heating pad a lot for pain. I think it's important to have that or an ice pack, depending on what kind of pain you're dealing with. Um, because that just not only gives you the comfort feeling like you got a warm blanket wrapped around you or something, but also really helps with pain. Um, I think that that has been something I've used more like physical product I've used more than anything else. I get a lot of hot flashes. Not only am I dealing with a lot of different symptoms, so that causes everything to make me really, really hot, but I'm in menopause. I had a hysterectomy several years ago. And so I also love the ice packs, the little breakable ice packs. Although the hospital had better ones, and I think I'm going to buy that brand. They stay colder longer than the ones I got off Amazon. Of course, I got the cheap ones off Amazon.
Right, right.
So between those two, but especially the heating pad, I do things to get out of my mind because I say that in like this. We're laying there, we're in pain, we don't feel good. We know
Yeah.
we can sit up or whatever, but we just can't focus on anything else but the pain, right?
Right,
That's
right.
all you can focus on is how miserable you are, which, by the way, is going to make you more miserable in the long run. It's okay to acknowledge it. I think it's hard, or I think it's something that we need to be careful that we don't live our emotions and our spirit in, because that will make things harder. That's just firsthand
Yeah.
my count of it. And so I do things to get myself out of my head. So I'm not thinking constantly about how horrible this is or how bad this is. One of those things for me is video games. I'm an original Nintendo video gamer. I mean,
That's
well, I say
awesome.
Nintendo. Actually, we had the Atari too in our house. So I'm an original gamer. It was Super Mario Brothers for life, and then it was Tomb Raider, and now it's a little bit of a lot of different things. But that helps me get my head out of this
Yeah.
negative spiral that I'm in, which I think is important. I cross stitch, I crochet, things like that. I also have this business that helps me have some normalcy in the middle of the chaos.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was supposed to have a different call that didn't go through, but I got up, I got work done, I waited for the call, got to it, found out we needed to reschedule. Um, that kind of normalcy gave me something to feel better about. And now today I feel even better physically because I'm not laying here going, oh my God, it just hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I'm actually starting to be able to get up and walk around and I
That's
feel,
awesome.
more like myself than I have in the last 2.5 weeks. Those are all just little things that I do. Those are my biggest things that I do to try to really help out with the different things. Now, if we're going to go symptoms by symptoms or, group by group, fibromyalgia and ankylosing spondylitis all feel kind of the same. And this back problem that I have all feel kind of the same. So heating pad is a big friend for that. A little weighted blanket, my dog,
Aw,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Um, the kidney stuff, I can't do anything about except to continue drinking water. So I just drink water and I try not to drink a lot of sodas or eat a lot of bad stuff for myself.
Can you feel pain from your kidneys?
I can sometimes. It's weird. If I don't drink enough water in a day, I can feel them starting to say, hello, excuse me. And so you get that mid back pain on both sides, toward the outside of your body.
Okay.
And it's kind of just achy, and you're like, oh, I haven't drinking enough water today because I know what it is, right? Otherwise, I would have thought it was just a back problem.
Right. Yeah.
Can't do anything about the thyroid and the parathyroid stuff. Just take my medicine. That's all I can do.
Yeah. Does the medicine help manage the pain, or is it actually like helping like keep it stable? Do you know what
It's
the
helping keep it stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that
that's
helps
good.
a lot. I'm bad when I'm not in a routine about taking my medicines and things. So like I'm sitting here saying all this and I'm reminding myself when I get done with this call, I got to take my medicine. When I get done with this call, I got to take my medicine.
Yes. Take your medicine.
So I got to do that. But those are kind of little things that I do depending on
Yeah.
what's going on in my life. So
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that you have a wide variety of things that you do to help you and cope. And I really appreciate that the top thing that you're like, all right, first and foremost is God.
yeah.
And I actually, last week when we were on vacation, one evening just had a massive migraine. Like I just got a POTS episode and it induced a massive migraine. And it was just one of those typical, just lay in the dark, close all the
Right.
windows, every single stimulus you can, turn it off. And at first, I was kind of stuck in that, oh, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts.
Hmm.
And it was really beautiful because I think the Holy Spirit led me to be grateful, just like listing things I was grateful for. I was grateful for my
Right.
husband who brought me, half a sandwich and electrolytes. And I was grateful for the comfy bed I was laying in and for the
Yeah.
AC and the fan that helped me cool off. And so, yeah, I appreciate that perspective
Yeah.
because it really does help just to start trying to, yeah, like you said, it's okay to acknowledge it, obviously. Like don't just ignore it
Yes.
and push through,
Yeah.
but also don't let it, take over you. And then secondly, one thing that I thought was oddly profound because it sounds simple
Oh,
is that you mentioned how, when you're in bed, you'll, maybe play video games
yeah.
or you'll crochet. And I love that because I think a lot of the tendency that we can have is self-shame. And I'm not sure if that's
Yes.
something you struggle with or not.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And it's like, I know that for me personally, it can often feel like, well, I can't sit here and watch my favorite TV show. My husband's at work, right?
Mhm.
It's like, it's almost like you're punishing yourself
Yeah, but what are you
for,
going to do? Because you're stuck there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like, if you just sit there and lie there and are focused on the darkness,
Mhm.
you're just punishing for yourself for something you didn't choose.
Right.
And so I love the idea of taking those moments and just allowing yourself to have fun with them.
Yeah,
Like,
do something.
yeah, or talking to someone or,
Scroll TikTok or Instagram.
right.
Listen, I wholeheartedly believe that for a lot of us with chronic illness, our scroll time is better than sitting there listening to our pain
Yeah,
because we're going to be in pain anyway. So scroll.
right. Yeah.
Mine's in the middle of the night, but that's a whole nother story.
Right. Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
I love that.
I think that's something we have to remember is that we didn't choose this. It happened to us. Now that doesn't mean we're not going to have to live with it, but it means
Hmm.
that we didn't choose it. And so because we didn't choose it, you're stuck there anyway. You might as well make the best of it and
Yeah.
come up with some things. Maybe you can make a list for, the groceries for the week.
Hmm.
Maybe you can, if you want to do something productive, maybe you can make a menu for the week or, whatever. Maybe your
Right.
husband's going to cook and he needs some help putting it all, figuring out when to do what. Maybe you could do something about that. I don't know.
Maybe you can start a
Um,
podcast.
you could start a
Join the
podcast. I mean,
club.
look, you can start a podcast from bed or the couch,
Right.
and join us. We love it. But doing something just to get your head out of the difficult, because we know as Christians that if we look at the dark and we sit in the dark and we stay in the dark too long, that we're going to start living like the world and we're going to start acting like the dark and we're going to
Dang.
forget who God is and we're going to forget what he's doing for us, even in the middle of all this pain and suffering that we're dealing with. And listen, I've had some really dark times. I know what you're going through. I know what it's like to be there and wonder in the middle of the night while your husband's asleep beside you and your dog is all curled up and cuddled and perfect, whether or not you're going to make it through this next week, or the next day. I know what that feels like. I may sit here and act like I'm all happy and joyful, and I am. And at the same time, I've been through some very dark stuff in my life and some very dark times. And so I know what it's like if you stay stuck in that moment. I'm going to give you an example. I had I had a really bad episode, probably fibromyalgia mixed with probably who knows what. I don't even remember. And I had been stuck in bed for only 2 days at this point. And I was feeling better, but I was just so depressed that day. I don't even know why I was. I was just so down and I was like, I just can't do anything right, that kind of thing.
All right.
Where we get stuck in that cycle, like, your husband's living his life and you can't do anything right, because you're stuck on the couch or in bed or whatever. And I was in this cycle. And I took some advice from someone I love who said, well, just climb in bed, take a nap, and then see how you feel, because normally that's what works for this person. And sometimes that can work for me if I'm really that tired. But I don't think I really was. I think I was more depressed than I was tired. And so when I woke up, I felt I was spiraling. I was spiraling. And I could not get my thoughts to stop. And I was sitting there like, what the heck is going on? And that's not like me anymore. I've done that in the past. I've had episodes of big depression times where I've had to deal with that kind of stuff. But it's not like me to spiral this bad anymore. In fact, my husband has never seen it. This is the first time he had ever seen me like this. And he's like, what is going on? So he suggested, why don't you get up? Why don't you go play video game? Get your head, your, mind out of your head, put it on something, dumb and stupid that you love and, see if that helps. Because he knows me. Sorry, water is necessary.
You're good.
So I did. I was like, okay, I'll give that a try because at this point, nothing can hurt, right? I'm spiraling anyway. And so I'm sitting on the couch. I finally got myself to the living room. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm playing this slow video game, one of those cozy ones that you can just play, And all of a sudden it comes to my head. You are not like this. This is not you anymore. You are strong. You are a daughter of the king. You're, all these different things. I can't remember exactly. It was a specific order of words that I had said. And I just kept repeating that to myself. I just kept saying over and over again, this is not who I am anymore. I am, a child of God. Got it. All right. This is not who I am anymore. I am a child of God. I am a daughter of the king. And so while I'm sitting there playing that video game that doesn't require a lot of thought, I am going over and over those 3 lines in my head until I started feeling my spirit lift and started feeling myself get a little lighter. And so then I sat down and wrote that in my journal real quick and then kept playing my video game, turned on a little, because I didn't have to have much sound for the game, turned on a little bit of praise music and just sat there living in that moment with God. With, you are not this way anymore. This is not who you are anymore. And you're not going back there. You are a child of God. So that is an important position. You are a daughter of the king. Same thing. Very important position. If you're a daughter of the king, you're royal. You're a princess. And I don't say that in a simple, Disney princess way. I mean, you are royalty now. And so that means that you need to act accordingly. You need to put your, big girl pants on, stop wallowing in this mess, let God love on you and shower you with his grace and mercy while you're getting back to that position of, hey, this is not who I am. I don't act like this. I don't live like this. I need to get better. Now, let me give you a caveat here for those of you listening to this going, but what about medication and things? I am on depression medications right now. I do not at all have a problem with medication for anything. Yeah. If you need it, take it. I'm taking it right now because I've been through a really dark season with my health. And so I didn't want to get to a place where I have been in the past. And so for me, I'm taking a low dose of that right now, and that is okay. I don't want you to think just because, God can pull us out that he always does. Sometimes he lets us sit there for a while and we have to do things to help ourselves, and that's okay. So I just want to give that caveat in case anybody's sitting there feeling guilty about medication. Please don't, because I'm on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That was really beautiful.
I know. I was like, okay, God, you just gave me a lesson.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Well, my next question was gonna be, about how does God affect you in your chronic illness? And I think you pretty much hit the nail on the
That's been the
head.
most miraculous one. On the day to day, it's more about just reminding me, the things in my life that I'm grateful for. My husband helping with all the things and remembering to thank him for that and praise him for that. My dog just being absolutely adorable and cute and making me smile, my friends and family who, check in with me on the phone or, are in the room with me for some reason. Just the day to day things to remind me that he's got me,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm curious within your faith if you obviously your relationship with God is a huge, like he spoke that truth to you in that moment and was able to draw you out of that. And that's so lovely. And you had mentioned before that, having your husband who understands is so helpful, having friends you
Yes.
can call. So I'm curious, obviously you started your podcast, and that has to do with your relationship with God and chronic illness and just life in that. I'm curious, have you found any kind of Christian-based resources, whether it's a group or a show or music or, book, anything, any ministry that has helped you get through your chronic illness? Have you found anything like that?
There are some great ones out there. I can give you a list after this that I have been affiliated with or know about as far as groups go and people and things like that. More so for me than anything else is if I have two different playlists. Well, I have multiple playlists, but I have two that we're talking about right now. I have one that I call praise. So if I know I need to be praising God and giving him thanks and listening to Christian music instead of my country music for the moment. And there's nothing wrong for me with listening to anything else as long as it's not bringing me in a bad place,
Yeah.
or bringing me down from God. I'm not going to listen to like, a bunch of rap with cuss words. It's not who I am. I'm a country girl. Straight from Texas, baby. Um, at any rate, if I know I need to be doing that, then my praise playlist I'll turn that on and I'll shuffle it and I'll listen to all different praise songs and I'll just be humming or singing praise songs. And that helps me a lot get in a good headspace. But when I'm really down and I'm really just tired and depressed and I need to feel this way, but also pull myself slowly out of it, I have what I call a peace playlist. And that's full of slower praise songs that give me that feeling of peace washing over me. And so, because they're praise, because they're Christian songs, not only am I getting the feeling of peace washing over me, but as I start listening and singing, I feel God's peace wash over me. And so music is huge for me. It's a very big piece of my life. I may not know the artist, I may not know the title of the song as well as some people who know music, but it is very important to me because it helps me process a lot of my feelings and always has, and gives me a chance to praise God in a way that I typically can't otherwise. So I'm big on music. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big music girl too.
Yeah. And I speak in music quotes. So like you'll hear a word or two and I'll start singing. And my husband will just laugh because
Aw.
I know the song that goes with that.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Aw, I love that. You are definitely not the only person I've heard that have said praise music
Yeah.
or worship music helps them through. And I remember someone else I had interviewed, if you go back into her episodes, her name was Emily, and
Hmm.
she had leukemia, and she said that literally when she couldn't do anything else, she would just listen to praise music. And she would
Yeah.
just, even if she didn't have the energy to sing it, she would just
Right.
listen. And so
Yeah.
that's encouraging. Like if that's what helps you, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I do have one other thing. I also have anxiety and obviously depression. We've talked about
Hmm.
that. And so I know that sometimes when we get in these places, we get kind of, and it's hard to come out of that headspace. And so one of the things my counselor gave me was the five things, the five senses. And so, what are five things I can see right now? And literally saying the fan, the screen, the door, five different things. So, using the five senses, finding five things with those senses can kind of pull you out of crazy town in your head and put you in your body again. Because sometimes we feel like we were having an out of body experience. We're like, this is kind of, I'm freaking out. And we don't always know why or need to know why. And so sometimes just doing the five senses, that's the other thing that helps me too. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend that as well.
yeah, as a practical piece there.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think
Yeah.
my last question for you would be for any person who's listening with a chronic illness, what is one truth that you would like them to know?
You are loved. Now is where you're going to get me to cry. I cannot say that enough. I know. Oh, girl, I'm gonna kill you after this. I know how hard this is. I know how dark it can get sometimes. But let me tell you, you are so loved by God. And I don't want you to forget that. If you're listening to this and you are a Christian, I don't want you to forget that at all. Because it's so important that you remember God loved you so much, He adopted you. He brought you into His family. And that picture, that idea, I have an adopted brother, and that idea of the fact that we chose him and we brought him into our family and we made him a part of our family, and he is literally everything but the actual blood running through my veins. He's mine, he's my brother. Thinking about how God did that for us just overwhelms me sometimes. I want you to know that you are loved, because that informs everything else you'll think about during your day and about God and how He's going to get you through this. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
You actually made me cry. I thought I was going to get away with it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Your love too, April.
Thank
Don't
you.
you forget it.
Yeah, I'm trying not to over here.
Well, for those listening who are interested in connecting with you, you mentioned that you have a chronic illness club. Is that just a
Yes.
Facebook page?
So I have a website which tells more about me, my story. I put some blog posts on there. I put all of the podcast episodes. If you want to listen to them there, you can.
Awesome.
You can also find them for the podcast on any basically podcast player that you use,
Hmm.
including Spotify, and Apple. Apple Music. It's not even iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts now. I don't know. There's so many new changes. So you can always find me there. But you can. I have a weekly email newsletter and a Facebook group. And basically, if you join one, you get access to the other. And you also get a little bundle that I am working on and will get out to everyone soon. A little bundle of, kind of a sample of products that I have in my
Mm.
purview that I've created over the last year.
Ooh,
Um,
cool.
there's some trackers, there's some, self-help, self-care
Hmm.
kind of things. There's some joy stuff, things like
Cool.
that to help us remember who we are and help us get through some of the stuff we're going through. So those are some different places you can find me. Also, I am very big on TikTok and YouTube. Not YouTube. I'm tired, y'all. It's been a day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I am on TikTok and Instagram. On Instagram, it is at the underscore Invisible Illness Club because you know how that goes. You got to find the right one. And on TikTok and everywhere else, it's at the Invisible Illness Club.
Okay.
So hope that you will reach out and say hi. I would love to get to know you better. I'd love for you to join the Facebook group. So please, please contact me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will put your link below in the show
Yes.
notes. I'll put your website. So people, if you're listening, you should check it out.
Shameless plug, please.
Oh, well, thanks so much, April. This has
Yes,
been an
thank
honor,
you.
and what a beautiful way to start my day. I just feel so
Aw.
encouraged and loved, and I hope that you
Aw.
listening feel the same way. Just like, oh, so thanks for that.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Christians with Chronic Illnesses community. Please remember to follow, rate, and subscribe to the show. You can also follow us on our socials at CWCI Podcast. And if you're interested in sharing your story, please email us at cwcipodcast@gmail.com. If you are interested in contributing to the production of Christians with Chronic Illnesses, please see the show notes below for subscriptions starting as low as $1 a month, or email us for a more direct way to give. This show is hosted and produced by Ellie Sprague, and our incredible logo, thumbnail, and overall CWCI artist is Brianna Middleton. This show is intended for entertainment and encouragement purposes only. Please talk to your doctor before trying anything you hear on this show. Until next Monday.